Okay, and we are live, friends. Welcome to the Collector Series with DPZ. And with me, I have Black Jaded Wolf, Sharon, right? Thanks for taking some time to join this particular series and talk about the card market, talk about cards, but talk about what you collect, what you PC, what matters to you more than anything else. So looking forward to having a conversation with you. Thank you for joining us today.
Invite. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you bet. You bet. So, one of the first things we talk about in this series is I wouldn't say the origin story. I guess you could call it that. That's already been claimed by Andrew, so I'm not going to take the origin story away from him. I would say what brought you into the space, what brought you into cards in general, and then kind of what's happened while you've been in cards. How have you weaved in and out, and what's your journey been like as you've kind of started collecting and then kind of pivoted and all? How, give us like a little synopsis of how that's your journey, so to speak.
I've told this a few times, but I love basketball. Michael Jordan has brought me in. Obviously, I used to be in school, and I have that portable TV.
Yeah.
During class, I used to watch the playoffs and stuff like that. Um, so after that, I came to U.S. I was from the Philippines, so I came to the U.S. with my parents. And around the corner, every time I come home from school, there's this corner store that have like packs of cards. So every allowance I get every week, I used to spend it on buying those cards. And then obviously, when I went to college, I got my first job. Been lucky that I still live with my parents at that time.
Yeah.
Almost my whole paycheck went to buying packs. And after a few years, I got to a point that what am I gonna do with all these cards? I,
Right. Right.
then I found a store and like a show in New York, and the guy was nice enough to like give me like a showcase in a White Plain show. I remember that. And then next thing you know, that was 20 years ago. So I'm still around doing cards full time, and I don't even know where the guy is right now. So
So you've been collecting for this last 20 years. So you didn't come back in during this whole COVID thing. You've been actively involved in the space this whole entire time. Okay. What are you? I'm sorry.
I've been to 3 recessions.
You've been through. Okay, so you've watched the ebbs and flows and free recessions. Talk to me about how the hobby has survived those three recessions. Like, what have you seen the hobby do as you've gone through all that?
The hobby is very resilient. It because it's tied into something. People are passionate with their sports and
Mhm.
whatever sport that is. I started with obviously basketball, but I became a good. I love baseball. I love watching baseball. So a lot of this people go through tough times, and they have good memories sharing with their dad, their family, their siblings. So the people always go through stages that they come back to collecting sports cards. Usually when kids used to do it with their dads, and then suddenly they hang out with their friends and they lose track. And then sometimes later on, oh, their friends start doing it too. Then they come back again. And then it got very expensive, like around 2008, wax became very like the flawless Tops Dynasty product packs are like 500, $600 each. So a lot of people left also at that time, but it opened up different collectors now. So now it became like people that have good jobs, and they started collecting. So there's like a journey, a roller coaster, but it's fun to see. And it's sports cards. I know it's just paper, but it's tied to something. Our good memories at the time.
Yeah, I think that's the sentimental value. We talk about monetary value as a business review. It matters, right? You have to pencil to paper. You have to debits and credits, right? But you still, there's a monetary value that's there. Um,
Yeah,
I
but
think.
love it. You know what I mean? Even though to me it's like a job, but I have to love it. I love meeting people. That's where it stemmed from.
Correct. Got it. Um, what was the first card you ever bought? Like, what's the most memorable card you remember? Like the first card.
I think my favorite that I really chased was Vince Carter.
Okay.
That dunk that he had, it was like his second year. It was Vinsanity, and the card was like inserted Vinsanity with that dunk. I was
Right.
that, and then they made like signed version, a relic version. I wanted to complete that whole set, so that made me. That's like one of the most memorable, early memorable card that I collected.
Awesome. So Vince Carter, he's someone that kind of got you excited, got you into the hobby. When did you see yourself? When did this turn into to a business for you? Like when did you see the opportunity to really go all in?
Uh, Probably 2008, 2009, when I decided. I mean, after graduation from college, I told my parents I graduated, but I want to do this full time. My parents were like, "What? What do you mean sell cars? Like they don't understand sports cars."
Yeah, like what are you doing? Why would you do that?
They were so against it. So, but I love it, and now they understand, and I could stand on my own, obviously, and they know I'm very passionate about it. It's good.
No, I mean, I think it takes time. When I tell my parents what I'm doing right now, anyway, they're like, "You're doing what? And you're like, you're at the bank. Like, what? Why would you be doing that?" Well, they understand. They think it's exciting. My wife, oh, you're having fun with it. That's great. I'm like, yeah, it's fun. It's fun. Um, so you got into now it's a business, and so you're not really PCing cards as much, and I think that's fair to say. I don't know if that's coming through on our end or my end. I don't know what the heck that sound is, um, but you ventured away a little bit. I mean, what you PC now is more. It feels like cards, right? But it's not the same. Talk to me about what you now go. This is what I love. It's a little bit different, but I this is what I PC. This is what I keep.
Well, I want to explain to people why I don't collect cards
Yeah,
anymore.
please do. Yeah, please.
Uh, so one of my best advice, um, from a friend of mine, when I turned this into a business, like you can't be a collector also because you form attachment. It might not help you in your decision on moving high end cards, and instead of keeping it when it's time to sell. So because of that, I stood firm, and I started finding other stuff to collect. I always tell people sports card collectors are collectors of other stuff too. It could be art, it could be toys. Most of the time we're kind of like hoarders of anything cool. so
Yeah, no.
so I always support artists, even in this. Hobby. I met a lot of good ones. Naturel, Chuck Stock. They're all good people too, and now they're getting the spotlight due to Tops. With Tops 70 Project and all those stuff. So
Mhm.
I met Andy Friedman. He's one of my artists right now, and this is like a card that just a plain canvas that was signed by Ovechkin during the Chantilly show. He signed his name
Wow.
and signed his nickname, right? And then I gave it to Andy Friedman, and then this is what he did with it. His rookie Young Guns, one of one piece art. He drew it basically.
That is really cool.
Yeah,
I mean that's one of one. I mean, there's nothing else. I mean, and you literally commission it almost, right? I mean,
yeah.
Cage and Andrew were talking about this on a show not too long ago about buying pieces of jersey, cutting them up, and just commissioning people. I think it was the Mater episode, and commissioning Upper Deck or whomever or Panini. That's really cool.
No, and not on that. The cool part is it's tied to his sports card because he's actually doing some. He's been attending a lot of shows. He has a Tops product.
Yeah.
So good. It's something different too. It's unique. It's my love. Told him to and then luckily he just had a meeting with Art and in my last week, and we're trying to get that. So that's cool. When it
Very, very cool. So how do you feel? I mean, this reminds me of the Tops 100, the Tops Project 70, Tops Project 2020. Talk to me about that. How did you feel about those releases from Tops? Did that speak to you at all? It kind of feels a little bit the same, but
That's
it's
how it actually started. So I used to collect those cards, and
oh
then
okay.
I meet the artists, I find them. I look through all my tops 2020 cards. Did I find this, yeah, this artist? And then I go meet them, and then I got signed. So later on, I knew some of them, and then I could commission some one of one pieces. So that's what I really collect, even in toys. So I collect toys also, but rare one of one custom by artists.
Okay, well, the one-on-one cards. So toys. We've talked about that on another episode. You haven't seen it yet, but we're talking about toys. So, what kind of toys do you collect?
Got this is plain white, and then the artists customized and made their own design basically. So it's signed by the artist 2021, and they did their own customization on it basically. This are
Wow,
two, and then these are literally wood custom by the artist from ground up.
that is really cool. That
So
is really cool.
the type of stuff that I have displayed in my office and stuff like that.
Right.
I know a lot of guys that in this hobby that's starting to do it too. I know you guys know Prism God from
Mm-hmm.
Ralph from Prism God.
Yeah, yeah.
Culture Collision show that he has, actually he's gonna have some artists there. So just doing their banners and their promo stuff. So I think it's a nice new aspect that we're trying to tie in with artists and
Yeah, I was always interested in the whole art card piece. Like I collected all of the Ken Griffey Jr. because I'm a huge Ken Griffey Jr. collector. So I collected all his Project 2020 cards and all of his Project 70 cards. Now I didn't get into the 100. I was like, oh my gosh, this is going to keep going forever, and I'm going to keep buying. The Tops is making a fortune off of me. But I enjoyed the take on some of those cards. So yeah, it was pretty cool.
that's something different. I think a lot of people collected cards. I know Christina from Christina PC. She loves cards because of the art, the design, and stuff like that. And I think that's how it started. And a lot of us collecting stuff, we can't just see the cards as a monetary value. We need to have a passion to it, it's some connection with it, basically.
Do you see that becoming a bigger deal? Like, do you think that the cards in art, do you see that fusion becoming more of a
More now, but 2 years ago, it was a lot just money. But
right?
trying to find some attachment why we actually collect. A lot of the younger kids are, some of them are art, art. So it's nice for them to be in this search, working with. Like, hopefully, joins into a little bit later. Know who started this, all those art. Um, so I go some old sketch art like Star Wars. There's not a lot of sports ones, but I'm hoping one will really get into it.
So
Basketball. It's mostly baseball, right?
right, so basketball really hasn't been explored yet, not as much as it could.
Yeah.
There is somebody that makes cards. I forget their name.
Tons of
Um,
art carver. He's one of them too. There's tons of guys that do custom art, and they're super nice.
yeah, no, they looked really, really cool. They take the designs and they kind of they hybrid them
Yeah.
into the car. I feel like it's really, really cool.
Yeah.
And they speak to this like scarcity thing. I think as collectors, we love to have stuff other people don't or cannot have. It makes it more, it makes it more cherishable. It's really neat to have it. The
Well,
one of one piece feels kind of neat.
years ago, it was like blasphemy to even do that to cards. They're like,
Yeah,
you shouldn't get your rookie card signed by an athlete because it devalues the card. But now
right.
it's changing. There's tons of people like Jordan rookies signed by that are selling very. So to me, I'm always been a autograph collector. So
Hmm.
it's special when I know the athlete cut the card. You
Are you an Ovechkin fan?
No, but he is one of the best
Yeah.
player. I'm actually not into hockey, but I only know like three guys. And
So you get one of the three, you're in pretty good shape. I feel like a lot of folks have come into the hobby. They came into the hobby a lot of like myself. I came in at 19. We come in, we learn, we grow, we watch folks. You guys have been doing it for a long time. But we watch all this, and then all of a sudden, we either do one of two things. We learn that okay, there's people coming in, they're just trying to make money. They see there's an opportunity, they make money. There's folks coming in, they're like okay, nostalgic, they're collecting stuff again and all these different things, and they okay, and then but through it all, store of value is always important to me. I feel like you want it to be worth something. I mean, people say, "Oh, if it goes to zero, you got to love it." I'm like, but I feel like that's not true because I think that most people would still be like, "Well, it kind of bummed me out if something I spent, X amount of dollars on, like $1,000 on, became worth $5." I think that would kind of bother us. So as human beings, I think it would just bother us. Nothing taking away from our desire, love of the whatever it is, but some folks have actually kind of sort of became collectors through all of this. That's been a hot topic. Have you become a collector? And how do you know whether you're a collector as you've gone through these last couple, 2 or 3 years? How do you see that when you look at someone and their evolution? How can you tell and discern between someone you think is becoming a collector that buys your cards from you, it comes to you? How do you discern between someone who's becoming a collector or someone who's just still trying to buy, flip, and do that whole thing?
Um, See, that's one thing I think the hobby that I don't think we should do because I think everybody is trying to find their own niche in the hobby, and I think it's being inclusive. There are flippers, and they're okay. They're trying to make some money out of it, and there is space for that, you know. But longevity of the hobby, we gotta also have some true collectors, obviously, because
Mm-hmm.
it's not good for the hobby to just everyone just want to flip. Who's gonna hold the cards, you know?
It has to end up somewhere, right? Yeah, yeah.
So I sometimes I see it. Father and son does it. Come to the show, and obviously the dad is like, you got to see. Do you like this player? He's telling his son this. When I'm listening, like, do you like this kid? Like a good investment, but also do you like watching him?
Right,
Not
right.
yeah. And the kid will say, yeah, I love the Knicks, so I want to buy, R.J. Barrett.
Yeah.
Uh, then the dad said, oh, they stinks right now. It's okay. Enjoys watching R.J. Barrett, so the kid still bought R.J. Barrett. So to me, you could sense that the kid could be a collector, but it's really we shouldn't penalize. We shouldn't say, oh, flippers are not good for the hobby. It's part of the hobby. It's the hobby is a lot of things, but to me, the kids are so important in this hobby. So those are my priority. If we could have some kids night and stuff like that, and kind of teach them what's how to invest right also, but make sure there's some passion attached to it.
That's a great answer to that question. I love how you avoided drama with it. I wasn't trying to bring out drama. I guess let me rephrase the question. Let me take it. Let me tangent it. Pivot the question a little bit. How many people have you seen? Do you notice more people coming and they're actually collecting now? I just want to keep this card. I want to PC this guy. The last few years, I'll just make myself an example. I bought all these different cards in 2020 or 19, and now it's just like it's boiled down to Ken Griffey Jr., Kobe Bryant, Mike Trout, and a little bit of Bo Jackson. But I just love those guys. They are the ones that speak to me and they matter, and those are the ones I want to keep. Right? It was a lot of coloring up to get to the cards I want with those guys, but then it just eventually I sold off all the extra stuff just to put it into those guys because I those are the ones I love and enjoy. It's kind of exciting to build something out. Do you see anything like that happening? Have you noticed that?
Um, there are more people. I'm gonna be honest, not to create drama or anything. You could ask Andrew. I don't like that. So,
No,
but
yeah, no.
there are more people that are coming in just for not that are not true collectors.
Just
It's maybe once every 10 people that's like are out there to really buy your card and not. Yeah.
mhm.
And that's the thing I told Cage too. It's like I set up for Comic Con. Almost 10 out of the 15 people are true collectors. They don't have the phone comping. If they want the card, they'll buy it based on your price, not comping what they literally just want to buy it. So that's telling me people that are collecting non-sport are really collecting because of that.
Interesting.
Sports card. It's kind of disappointing, but I had this. kid literally stood in my table for an hour trying to ask me what's the best investment card. I'm really just into the money. This is a 14-year-old kid. And I don't like dealing with that, but I'm telling him, who do you like the most? What team do you watch? And I could try to help you. But it's kind of hard to just, because if you tell them something wrong and it could be bad for their collecting, they might get out of it. I don't want to like have make somebody's experience bad, obviously. So
You don't want to, yeah, I didn't want to influence them in a way that might, yeah, okay, yeah, I get what you mean.
yeah. So I always tell them, walk around the room. Who do you like? You don't have to buy from me. Look, if you want RJ Barrett, go look if there's a good deal on RJ Barrett in the room. But
Very interesting. So the non-trading card, I mean the trading cards, but non-sports cards have a bigger contingency of collector only folks that are, the ratio is a little bit more even, whereas the ratio seems to be 1 in 10. That means 90% of the people you're dealing with are coming to try to transact on a card for the transactional purpose versus the collecting purpose. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think it's an interesting dichotomy because you have a lot of different, levels of the space, right? And like you said, it's healthy to have people that are trying to do that because that's fine. I mean, it keeps the space vibrant and alive. I think that's a wonderful thing. I'm going to be the least dramatic person you'll ever meet, Sharon. I don't. I'm anti-drama. I try to find the good. Okay, is everybody happy? Okay, great. Because I think it's important. Obviously, I'm completely against fraudulent activity, but I think benefit of the doubt is always important, right? You always should grant people the benefit of the doubt, and what's that common saying? I was listening to it today. Better to have be thought a fool, better to be silent and be thought a fool than open your mouth and remove all doubt. I'm a very big believer in that. So I'm always I just don't. I'd rather just not say things. So I have to take me so long to try to maybe do this eventually because I was just like, I know I've been listening to content for 3 years. No, I don't really want to say anything. I don't think I need to say. Now I'm just like, you know what? Maybe I'll just talk about collecting because that's fun and it's anti-dramatic for the most part. But that's an interesting dichotomy, and it's important. It's like an ecosystem, so to speak, right? You have an ecosystem, and you need everybody to work it out. Why do you think? And maybe just your best guess. Why do you think there's more of a collector base in non-trading, non-sports card collectibles than there are in the sports card collectible space?
I think during pandemic the prices went up so much to a point that you just don't. So when you set up in Comic Con, most of the cards are 200 and below. People are always like, oh, it's easy to buy a $50 card. You don't need
Yeah,
to. But when you go to a show, it's always like they're trying. It's like a treasure hunt. They're trying to look for the card that they want to make money on. Definitely, you know. So to me, that alone brings a different atmosphere. All of
yeah,
Some of the kids don't even want to buy anything when there's no comp. And comp is such a tough thing to use too, because a kid getting injured 3 months ago, it's a different comp right now. And the comp right now is different than 3 months ago. So I mean, I always tell people use the comp, but at the end of the day, use our common sense.
you almost need to use like it's in comps too, a more liquid card. If depending on when it closed on eBay or when it was auctioned, how many eyeballs are on it? What was it competing against? Right? I mean that varies. So that must be incredibly difficult for you to navigate that.
Oh, super difficult. I have one guy during nationals this year that somebody listed this Tom Brady card by mistake and it got sold for 1,500. But if you look at every comp, literally the guy put a 1,500 buy it now and it got sold. But the rest of them were 4,800, 4,200, 5,000. And the guy keep using that and put it in the comp.
Like it's not real, man. It's not real.
So he was arguing with me. You can't say it's not real. To him, it's real because it did get sold. But so to arguing, I said I understand, but it's hard to explain to people. That one sale, and not on that, it could have been someone creating that prior to going to show too. It's very possible. So there's just a lot going on, and you need to process. So let's take comp, but look at the other stuff too. Just
Mhm.
rational and study the comp before we. Yeah. Decide.
I mean, but it's also been good too for business, right? The fact that, you've got a lot more eyeballs. Do you feel like Fanatics is going to create, this is turning into a hobby talk episode, but that's okay. Well, we're going to roll with whatever we got, right? And I know you and Cage talk about this stuff, and I've already talked about this stuff, but do you feel like the hobby itself and where we're going with Fanatics, do you think that's going to, it's going to be more status quo? We're going to status quo. We're going to elevate. You're going to have more collectors, or you just have more people coming in trying to transact in the hobby versus collect.
Um, I'm an optimist, so I'm hoping they will make it that kids going to a stadium could open a pack, and buy a jersey together. It doesn't have to be flawless, obviously, but at least a pack that has maybe Prism, that sort of thing. That's something cool, and if they meet their favorite athlete, they could probably get it signed, that sort of thing. It's just getting. I'm hoping it's good for the general masses and the younger kids, basically. That's what I'm. I mean, I've spoken to them about it too, so some of their head, and see how it's gonna be good or beneficial to collectors, not just
Have they shared anything with you about what they plan on? I mean, obviously, they're not going to give you proprietary information there, but do you get a feeling?
so.
What's that?
Not even sure if they know where they're heading yet.
Yeah, still learning.
So easy to be status quo.
Yeah, yeah.
Like since they bought Tops, it's still been, it's let's get them rolling first, and see where they could be. I don't think anything will change for at least 2 to 3 years. So
Speaking of tops, too many products, too many baseball products. I know you're more of a basketball collector, but or more focused. But I'm a baseball collector mainly, or a baseball enthusiast. Too many products. I'm Julio Rodriguez. I'm a Seattle guy here. Do you have 500 different rookie cards? Is that a problem?
so to me, it's not a problem. I understand companies want to make money. That's their drive, that's their goal. It's hard for us to tell them not to monetize, but to me as a collector, and I always tell the people that I deal with, try to focus on the good product. Bowman Chrome, for rookies if you want. uh,
Mm-hmm.
Apps Dynasty, because most of them are game use, autograph patches. you know um I try to tell people to focus on the good one. I love Heritage, due to the designs and stuff like that, and the short prints and some obscure items sometimes. So I always tell people, it's like Nike coming out with shoes, right? But we focus on the Jordans, the good. So do that and apply that in sports parts. I always tell my customers.
I mean, I'm gonna keep rolling with this because you're giving me some great stuff. Okay, so you like Heritage, and see, I'm a Trout guy, and I have his first. I had three at one point, but I had two reds and his just regular. But I have his 2016 PSA 10. It's first Heritage Auto. This is something really interesting about that card is it's like a pop 30 in all of the grades, and the red, which is numbered out of 67, I believe, or 69. There's like 40 or 50 of them, or 60 of them.
Sometimes the texture is different. On the red, maybe the back is a little different. So if you notice, tops like depends if it's a refractor or different parallel. The texture is different. Sometimes they paper. Maybe that's why.
I mean, there's not very many graded, period. Like there's only 20 some graded. There's only a handful graded 10, right? So I just always found that interesting that the reds are the serial numbered, but they carry less value than the blue regular real one, which is odd to me. I always, because I had both and I was like, which one? I needed to sell one to go grab a Kobe. And I was like, I don't know which one to sell, but I feel like this one's more rare and just odd to me.
I would always keep the red, but that's very odd. I don't know if it's just that year, but most of the time the red or the lower number, the numbered one is the better keep at the end of the day.
I agree with you. I mean, it was between a PSA 10 blue and a PSA 9 red. So I kept the 10. It was kind of it was a really interesting conversation. Sell the red, which is a 9, or keep the 10, which is way lower pop, but it's a 10. It was kind of if it was a 10 and 10, I wouldn't have.
Better keep just because everybody has this thing about tens and nines. People just don't like.
So I think I feel like I made the right call on that particular very specific situation and scenario. But
Find
um,
pick it up.
what's that?
Find the red again. You should pick it back up.
I'll go get it again. Now you're making me Sharon, you're making me spend money. It's like I'm done now. Now I'm done for this. Okay, here I go. I'm gonna go find a red Mike Trout. Um, so okay, we'll deviate. So we're not product breakdown is definitely I could see it could be a blast talking to you about the ins and outs of product breakdown. Something happens, you got to get out of your house, your shop, whatever, wherever you keep your most beloved stuff. Something happens, you got to get out of there quickly. You can't grab a case. You got to grab what you can grab, and it can only fit in your hands. It doesn't matter how many. You tell me how many. What are you taking with you? What can you just not replace?
Uh, I would probably take my Luca Black Gold, 1 of 5, rookie prism. Um, I'm not really attached to a lot of cards, but my Giannis RPA is my only one left. National Treasure.
Wow.
I will keep those two definitely. That might help me buy at least put a down payment in my house. So
Hey, no, that's not a bad idea. I can't blame you.
yeah, those two are probably two cards I will take. But my favorite item that I don't know if I could. I love this All Star ball that I have of last year of Jordan
Oh,
and
wow.
All Star team. So Kobe's MVP and Jordan's last All Star game. It was an All Star game ball. So I might run out with the two cards and that ball.
And that ball. I love it. I love it. Awesome. Great. Well, thanks for taking the time to join us today and talk about the things. I mean, we got some hobby knowledge in there, which is always good. Can't get enough of that. You never know. Everybody's always listening to different programs. So thank you for sharing your story and sharing some things about the hobby and some of these really cool cards. Those two cards you're going to take with you are like probably worth 5 times my collection. So that's pretty rad. You don't really need to take too many when you got those two, right? You just snag those, you're good. That ball sounds pretty cool too. But thanks so much for joining us. Go do follow at Black Jaded Wolf on Instagram. You can find me at PC with DPZ, and this program's living on the Luca Nation Network. You can also check out Uncaged with Black
Yes,
Jaded Wolf, right?
but just released today. So oh well,
Yeah,
today I don't know when you're releasing this one.
yeah. Well, yeah. We'll find a time, but either way, I'm sure it'll be more, and we'll be able to catch a show with you and Cage, which are really great shows. Please go check that out. Thank you so much for taking time. And if anybody has any comments, questions, please let us know below. We've got a lot of hobby knowledge and industry knowledge right here, sitting right here in front of us. So thank you so much for taking time. We'll talk soon.
Bye.
Hey, take care. Okay. There's going to be a little editing on this bad boy, I think.
With nearly 40 years as the most trusted resource for collectors, dating back to the first Beckett magazine in 1984, Beckett has been the brand that bridges generations of the hobby. We're happy to be partnering with Beckett and look forward to keeping you all updated on the big things happening at the company in 2023. Beckett. It's the name you know and the name you can trust.